Everyone, to inspire, innovate, ignite conversations that count. So glad that you could be here with us. We have some amazing panelists with us today, and we're going to be discussing the topic of soul care and self-care. What's the difference? So soul care is the new self-care. And while self-care is super important, it actually can cause you to do more, push more, and really spin around and not get anywhere. And soul care encourages you to do less and allows you to naturally recalibrate. So with soul care, the soul leads, and we access our intuition, innate wisdom, and this allows us to discern instead of hearing the voice of the mind or society's voice. And we take responsibilities for having our needs met rather than expecting someone else to find them. And so this gives us the courage to respond without being defensive and without authority, being in our mind, so that we can be totally in integrity and authentic. And so this is going to be a really super great conversation. I have lots of questions myself. And so I know if you're listening and you have questions, please feel free to type them in the chat or send them over wherever you're watching, so that we can make sure to get those questions addressed. And so these panelists are all experts in this area. And of course, showing up live is the best way, but we'll have the replay available as well. And we have lots of different classes available, lots of different discussions available for you to view. And you can find those on our website, and we'll put the link, you can find the link below. And we could talk a little bit more about that later. But you can also consider joining us for just $1 for the first month. And now I'd like to introduce our lovely panelists. So starting with Hope. Hope Clark has evolved herself out of a radically separate and religiously fixed upbringing. It has now built a life of fluidity and freedom. She's a beautiful biracial family of 5 and runs a successful essential oil business focused on clean living, detoxification, emotional management, and vibrational attunement. She's a certified essential oil specialist, a licensed avatar master, an author, and a speaker. And we have Jennifer Regular back. And Jennifer is a transformational author of Embrace Your Power, a healing journal of self-discovery and soul-centered empowerment coach at Lighting the Path, where she aligns visionaries with their passion and their mission to focus on the difference that they want to make in the world and experience a deep life satisfaction. And then we have Sue back. Sue Rummock specializes in overwhelm management strategies for the highly sensitive person, an HSP herself. Sue has been a professional life coach for over 15 years, working with entrepreneurs and their families to help make sensitivity a gift and a strength. And I'm Lisa. I'm an intuitive mentor, and I work with women who feel silenced and invisible, and I help them break the barriers to finding courage and opening their hearts and discovering who they're here to be. And as they step into their power, they're able to reclaim their voice and finally receive all the abundance and the fulfillment, all the goodies that the universe wants to give them. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. And I would like to just go around the virtual room here and ask you about soul care and self-care, and what you would say is the difference, and maybe how you discovered that yourself. Jennifer, do you want to start?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Self-care and soul care. Well, self-care is obviously important, but it's also based on deficiency needs, really. It's about, not having enough sleep or eating properly or getting enough exercise, whereas soul care is really about your growth needs, being able to evolve and move into self-actualization, tap into your potential, move from your inner guidance, as you mentioned earlier, about being soul-led. And it's more about the qualities of what you're bringing in. So it's, about joy and peace and tranquility and living with vibrancy in your life and doing what lights you up, right? And when we can move from that place, then we bring so much more quality into our lives. And it's a lot different from self-care, especially if you are, like I was, working for over 25 years in social and human services, working with many different populations, and also in customer service, where you kind of have to be on all the time. And and I know Sue will talk about this too, about being an empath. I'm one of those, and giving just so much of yourself. And all through life, before I understood what being an empath meant, just feeling like I was taking on the energy of everyone around me and really affected by other people's moods. Self-care doesn't really tend to those kind of situations. It's not enough, especially when you're feeling drained and giving so much of yourself that it just didn't cut it. Self-care, you need the energy to be able to engage in exercise and so on. Whereas in soul care, it's more about tending to yourself as a spiritual being, which we are in the midst of human experience. So tending to your spirit and finding ways to keep your spirit intact. And so for me, when I was engaging in different spiritual practices and different energy modalities, for example, and managing my energy levels, then that was a way that really supported me in the work that I do and sustaining myself, so that I didn't continue in the cycles I was in of exhaustion and adrenaline fatigue and so on, and my nervous system being completely out of whack. It was a way of tending to my soul's needs. And I'll talk more about it as we go along, but you can see that this is a huge passion of mine. And what you read there was a lot from the blog post that we have on Sacred You too that I had written. So I'll leave it to someone else now.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I love how you explain that, because soul care being something that you're infusing yourself with the qualities that the universe wants to give you. You're infusing yourself with all those higher vibrational qualities instead of being depleted. I love how you put that. And Hope, you're a vibrational attunement specialist, so maybe you can go next.
Well, we're electromagnetic beings. We're made of frequency and energy, and when things are out of alignment, things feel heavy and dense, and when we're in alignment, things feel lighter and brighter. I too loved, Jennifer, how you pointed out right away the difference between soul care being a focus on where you're wanting to go, whereas self-care is more about like, let's fix the problem that's here. I also feel like a lot of self-care ideas or methods are focused on the physical body and are ideas that somebody else came up with. You know, cook yourself a meal, go take a bath, go work out. Whereas soul care is really you being quiet with your own space and hearing for what you need to do next. And that comes, it's an inner knowing that comes out. It's a looking for the insight, the inner wisdom that comes out. And for me, that began with, screaming and beating pillows in my closet in a very difficult time of life where I reached like a fever pitch, like the knuckles are white on the steering wheel. And I'm doing everything I know to do right in life, but my life is falling apart and it's really intense. And I'd go into my closet and I'd scream and punch and let it out physically. But then something happened internally and there was a quiet knowingness of this is what I need to do next. It's like this small, still, quiet voice that's oceans deep. And it was essential oils that helped me still myself enough, and it kind of softened the tissue to be able to hear that voice more clearly. And so essential oils have been a huge part of my soul care throughout the years. They're also self-care. They're great for the body, but they have been incredible for my emotional management and my taking care of myself as a spiritual being in this body. That's really made massive transformation. When you take care of your soul, it's so much easier to take care of yourself.
Yeah, so true. And I I do love essential oils too. And I love how they lift you up. They have a way of just going in and doing the work, what they need to do. So I appreciate that. And what you said about being out of alignment and feeling dense when you're out of alignment. And that's the heaviness of, better do some self-care. It's like, I should do this, or I should, it's like that should or shouldn't. Yeah. It just kind of feels, it's a different frequency than soul care, even just the way that it sounds. And yes, inner guidance coming from yourself. You are the trusted, guidance counselor, whatever. So yeah, I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, your greatest mentor lives right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Just have to get quiet enough to hear.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you. Sue, I'd love to hear from you about this. Can you unmute?
Now you can hear me. Now you can hear me. Okay. So Jennifer, Hope, and Lisa, everything that you have said is bang on when it comes to soul care and self-care. I'm a channeler. I've been a channeler. I was born a channeler, and I've been channeling since I was a child. In 2012, I almost died. And in that time, I connected with soul differently than I had before. Basically, soul contacted me and said, there is work to be done. So all I had to do was stop long enough to listen. And when I asked soul, so basically I'm asking my guides, I'm asking my angels, what is, explain to me, mind, soul, body, mind, body, soul, however you want to put it. And my guides, we can call them guides, came back to me and said, mind and body is the physical connection that the being has with the life that you have here. Spirit is the experiential side, meaning that it's the librarian of all of your life experiences. It makes sense of them, and it lets you know the risk level of whatever it is you're about to go into based on its comparison to other things you've done. So spirit is your storyteller and your librarian. We, when we're working from self-care only, we make our decisions based on an intellectual connection that we have with spirit, meaning the stories that we tell ourselves. When we're working from soul, soul is your soul connection to source, to God, to whomever you believe the creator is. And it's all the same. When you ask a question of soul, the answer you get back is truth, pure truth. You might not like what you get back, but you get truth, right? And you might fight against it, but when push comes to shove at the end of the day, you discover that what soul told you was the truth. And all you have to do now is act on it. So for me, whenever I need a truthful direction in my life, I don't go here. I go to my heart. You can't see that because the camera doesn't go that low, but I got my hand over my heart. And I'll ask in heart, through heart, what is it that I'm missing? What am I not seeing? What's the truth about this? And then if I still myself and just wait for the thoughts, the sensations, the concepts to come through, they come through not as words or sometimes as pictures, sometimes as thoughts, more often as more questions that I'm being asked to answer. The questions layer me down to my essential truth. So for me, if I'm looking at soul connection, I'm going there to get the pure, unadulterated truth. Self-care for me is mind, body, and yes, spirit. It's how I take care of my body physically and emotionally and spiritually. That's my work to do. Now, I know that our conversation is about how we care for soul, but soul is if you're looking at it from the perspective of immortal beings, God connection, soul needs to be recognized and appreciated by us, respected by us, and listened to by us, given our attention. But soul takes care of us if we allow it to. Soul settles our sense of self. Soul takes us to the questions that help us to uncover our next path. So my answer is along the same lines as yours, and all of your answers are beautifully, beautifully correct. This is a slightly different perspective in it, that self-care is what we do. Soul care is what soul does for us. And then all we have to do is pay attention and be appreciative and in gratitude for what soul brings to us. So.
Yeah, I love that. And that leads into my next question, because we need both. We have to merge both of them. And so how can listeners discover how to complement soul care and self-care, so that they can merge the two to make it beneficial to their life? Because we're in a 3D body, we've got to live in our body. We do have body things to do at this point in our ascension. But maybe there's some tips that you have around how to merge and how to complement each other. So Sue, do you want to start with that?
Sure, I'll be happy to. This is actually a process that I take most of my life coaching clients through, because as you very kindly stated, my clients are highly sensitive people, empaths, and so am I. And as such, we are extremely sensitive to the vibrational environment around us. We feel all of it in our bodies, and our bodies respond. And that's partly where the self-care comes in, and also where the soul care comes in. So and this is what I tell all of my clients. Number one, we have an electrical sensory network around our bodies. And I think you're well aware of that. We put our hands out there, we actually can feel the electricity of it on the palms of our hands if it's in the right location. Sometimes it's blowing way out, sometimes it's tight in against our body, shrink wrapping us. And we have to learn how to manage the sensory network so that it's pushed out to the right place for our safety, and also for our communication with other people. The second thing, so learning where your sensory network is a physical piece of work that we do. Managing the connection, the remote control connection between our brain, which is the amygdala fight, flight, survival center, and that sensory network becomes a form of self-talk, because you're actually talking to your brain that is remotely electrically connected, that part of the brain, not your whole brain, just that one little part. And you're talking to it about what you need it to do in order to protect you best. And then you're negotiating that space. You're also learning how to send back thought messages without words that are non-confrontational to calm the minds, the bodies, and the spirits of people around you who may not be in a calm situation. Now, those are all trainable processes. But what a person can do for themselves, it's so simple. When we aren't sure of what it is that's overwhelming us, and we want to connect back to the soul to get the truth, you're going to ask with your heart. Put your hand on your heart. Anybody can do this right now. Put your hand on your heart. Think about something that's holding you stuck, some thought process, some relationship, and ask if what you believe about it is true. Is what I'm believing true? Is it real? Is it real? So you might think that you're not good enough. You might think that you can't support yourself. You can't be independent. You've never been. You will always be the victim. Of course, I'm talking about all those negative things because we don't always connect with the positive. And with your hand on your heart and just closing your eyes, you ask through your heart, is this belief that I have, or this vision that I have, is it real? Meaning, is it mine? Is it mine? And for the empath, a highly sensitive person, if it is yours, your body will say, yep, it's yours. You'll know it as a space in your body. Yes, this is mine. If it's not yours, if it is an energy that you're allowing into your body or allowed into your body from outside, your body will come back with very powerful, nope, this is not yours. Is it mine? Is the first question that you ask. Based on the answer to that question, you can move forward with other actions to make it manageable. And then eventually to protect yourself from it, and eventually to have it completely leave you and leaving you in a clear space so you can move forward with a new self-belief. Well, it's a process. It takes time. Learnable. So I think that's all I'm going to offer, because I can see Hope has been nodding her head. Jennifer has been nodding. Lisa's been nodding. Everybody's nodding.
Yeah, no, those are great. That's super, super great. Tangible things that our listeners can use. And I did this process, I don't know, not too long ago, where I spun out in my mind with a story, and I'm like, wait a minute, is that story true? And I kind of broke it down. I'm like, where did that even come from? Because that is like, it had no ground, no legs to walk on. And it was kind of funny.
It came from spirit. Yeah. It came from the spirit side, which is the librarian, the storyteller, the archivist, who makes meaning of that story, and that becomes the meaning that you live by. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put myself on mute. You can talk to somebody else now.
Yeah, no, I love that. Okay, let's see. Hope, did you want to share?
Yeah, I loved, Sue. One of the first things you said was about how spirit soul is here to care for us. It's our reverence and respect for greater soul. And I loved that, and loved the thought that came to my mind was, and so the more in alignment we are with that internally, the more we're going to feel cared for. That may be the process, the best process of soul care is just simply getting in alignment with greater source. You know, that it's an alignment process. Some of the practical things that I do, that tangible things that I do that I've noticed has really helped my physical self-care. I was talking about soul care just a few moments ago, about using essential oils for my emotional self and for alignment vibrationally. One of the things I've learned about this physical body is it has a vibrational frequency. Every organ has a different vibrational frequency. A healthy human body vibrates at about 65 megahertz and declines when we reach illness or sickness. Migraines are somewhere around the 50s, and Epstein-Barr syndrome is around 42 megahertz. And cancer, death is between 25 and 0 megahertz. And so a can of green beans is 0 megahertz, but fresh herbs are about 12 to 15 megahertz. Essential oils are about 65 to 320 megahertz. And so surrounding ourselves, our physical body, with higher vibrational substances like essential oils, fresh plants, ingesting green herbs, eating clean, healthy food that's very easy to digest, that's not dense or heavy, helps keep this vessel clean and light. And I notice that it is so much easier for me to stay in alignment spiritually, for me to stay in spiritual alignment when my physical body is light and less dense. And so it is, like you were saying, Lisa, it is so intertwined, self-care and soul care. If I eat a greasy cheeseburger, man, I have trouble connecting. Physically, I feel heavy. Emotionally, I feel foggy. My brain isn't working. All the neurons are misfiring. I've got crazy thoughts coming through the whole brain synapses. Whereas if I spend several days detoxifying, drinking a lot of clean, high alkaline water, eating really light food, and eating less food, our body doesn't need a lot, needs very little, then it's so much easier to come into alignment and to hear and to be connected to greater source. And so I do find they're like intertwined so closely.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And it's so true. It's like when you're a clear vessel, when you're just like, I don't, if anybody's been, I was sick last year, super sick. Like my whole body just went detox, 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 everything out. And I was so clear that I had the clearest visions and the clearest downloads and the clearest insights for like 2 weeks after. And it was amazing. And then of course stuff started seeping back in. But when you do a fast, or when you are, when you're really taking care of yourself and really focusing, it's so much easier to connect. I love that. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Because it does help you move into alignment when you're lighter. When you're less dense, there's more light coming in, which means there's more space coming in, which means you have a higher frequency because there's more light. So yeah.
Yeah, it all works together. It really
does.
is all we have to walk around in these meat bodies here, and we want to do it well. And it's gonna work really well if we feed it really good fuel, keep it really clean, and stay in alignment.
And be
Things are a
conscious
lot more
of
fun.
what you're doing, right? Be conscious of it, consciously.
Mhm.
Thank you, Hope. Jennifer, I'd love to hear from you.
Yes, Lisa, you're saying being conscious of it. That's really important of what you're doing, right? And you said in the beginning too that self-care was a lot about doing, whereas soul care was more about being and allowing and surrendering. And that's the thing with self-care, we get really caught up in doing everything right and in the proper way, in the way that we've been conditioned to, or the way people expect of us. We get attached to different outcomes, and we get into wanting to protect our reputation. I know when I was a counselor, I was the one everyone came to, but then when I was suffering and then, needed someone else, I didn't know where to go or who to talk to, because everyone came to me. So I didn't want to burden them with their problems. I had this idea about reputation, right? And wanting to appear that I can help everyone and, and just be on all the time and be accepting of that. And there's a real cycle where we can get in our way of our own self-care. Now, I had all the tools, I had the abilities, I didn't have as much capacity anymore because I used it all up in all the pushing and the doing and the trying and all of those things. And so in self-care, it's quite ego-based, actually. And that's not such a bad thing, because like you said earlier too, and some people, all of us have said, the physical is very important, and being able to sleep properly and eat right and exercise and have the right kind of exercise is all important. And so is tending to our personal hygiene and going to different appointments where we get those checkups from holistic practitioners or Western medicine or whatever it might be for you. All of those things are important. And it was a good question, Lisa, about how we can bring in self-care and soul care and build our capacity to be able to hold it all. And there's an acronym I like to use in the word COPE. And so C is for conscious connection. And when it comes to self-care, it's really looking at that mindfulness and the mindset that we have as we approach self-care, because that's really important, like you said, about being really conscious about how we're doing. And then the conscious connection, like Sue mentioned too, about the hands over the heart, and that Hope mentioned about being in alignment. Those are all ways of being in conscious connection into your higher self and higher power. And then the O is only temporary, to kind of take the pressure off and recognize that everything is only temporary. It's passing through, it's passing by, and to understand what would help us carry us through and not get stuck or stagnant in that. And then P would be practice patience, right? Again, relieving some of that pressure, allowing things to unfold, surrendering, giving ourselves some room to breathe, creating some space in our lives and between meetings and transitions, from work to home and so on, and allowing more of that space and taking care of our nervous systems, right? And E would be embrace your power. Actually, there's a lot for each one, but I'm going to go with embrace your power today for E. And that's really taking 100% responsibility for the way you're living your life too, and embracing your power, knowing that you do have the power to make choices about what you take on, what you say yes and no to, what boundaries you might set for yourself or not, to know to practice discernment really about how much is enough, to allow some growth if you need to allow some room when you need to regenerate, to really embrace your power to make any of those choices you need to live your best possible life, and to not judge yourself for it. If, one day you can handle everything, the next day you can't, you need to rest, and not judge yourself for that. Go and rest. I had a really hard time with that. Even the word relax used to make me cringe, literally. So this is years and years of practice that I can actually say this and walk my talk too, and to experience that. So self-care, yes, we need to tend to all of those things, that our basic survival needs, our love and belonging needs, being in community, but then to also practice our spiritual hygiene as well, to pray and to meditate and to consciously connect with nature, for example, and to put our hands over the heart, like Sue had mentioned too, and move within. For introverts, we get our energy from within. We need that alone time. It's absolutely essential that we have that. And for extroverts, they get their energy from being sociable and being out there and enjoying life. And that really lifts their energy up that way. So really being aware of your energy, of how you want to be directing that, and also your time and how you're prioritizing everything. So yeah, we could bring in some self-care practices and or soul care practices into the same 24-hour period. It's just making those choices and building those habits a little by little. And then we really build that spiritual strength, and the capacity expands to be able to hold it all, to be able to hold more and more as we go on, but not to expect that we can do everything and all at once and do it with excellence, right? That's not the goal here. The goal is to just be, really, to do less and be more, to simplify your life.
Yes, thank you. I love that. So true. And I love what you say about not judging, because you're right. Everybody, there's so many people saying you should do this, you shouldn't do this. This is the right way, this is the wrong way. It's like coming back to center. What is the truth for you in this moment, right? Temporary, in this moment, what's the truth for you? And how do you give yourself the most gentle compassion? Because you may do something that's out of character for you that just needs to be expressed at that moment. And it's okay. Like we're not perfect. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to express, we're here to experiment, we're here to be, try and find that joy, that true north of the joy. So I love all this, all of what you've all said. So before we get to the last question, what I'd love to have you do is maybe you could each talk about a gift that you have. If you have a gift, a free discovery call or a downloadable or something like that, let the audience know what it is, maybe describe it, and we'll put the links in. And then I have a question that I'd like to ask you as well. So who would like to describe who has a gift that they'd like to talk about? Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to offer a guide to soul care, finding solace in everyday life. And I'll put the link in the chat there that can be shared for anyone who would like to find ways of engaging in self-care, soul care, and also understand, again, some of those differences and how you can find solace in everyday life.
Beautiful. Thank you. That sounds perfect. Awesome. Hope, did you have something, or Sue? Yeah, Hope. Okay, go for it.
I do. I really love to connect with people. So I do have a free complimentary discovery call on my website. I have a blog where I share about daily practices with using essential oils. And I have a really great downloadable PDF on the basics of how to use essential oils for emotional management and then for physical health. And so that education is my biggest thing. So I work with all kinds of professionals, individuals, from healthcare practices to individuals to small businesses, and providing their corporate wellness program. It's education that helps us really understand what's going on in our body, how to treat it well, and then how to use these pure, simple, clean, safe plant medicines, plant substances to help our limbic brain and our physical body. So I can, if you have those links from my site, share those, and everything's on my website.
Oh, I'm muted. Thank you, Hope. That was perfect. Sue, would you like to share?
I'm a lot like Hope. I really love connecting with people, talking to them, figuring out, helping them, well, letting them tell me where they're at, and then figuring out a simple solution to get them someplace they'd like to go. It's a free discovery call. It's anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes, and book it on my website. So I'll provide that as well. I also have a number of free little ebook manuals on different aspects of spiritual connection. So I'll be happy to put those links in as well. And I would love to talk to anybody who wants to know a little bit more about how to get access to that soul connection as an empath, because as empaths, everything in our lives is so loud, so fast, so coming at us all the time, that sometimes we try the self-care in excess, trying to manage everything, all go where we want it to go. And going to that soul care place is really doing the empath self-care. Can't do it from physical or from spiritual. It has to be from soul to start with. So anybody who's in that conversation, my website is there, my contact information is there, and I'm just waiting by my phone for you to call me or me to call you.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, I love that. And so what I would love to talk about, because I think all of you mentioned it at some point during our discussion today, was really tapping into the truth of who you are, tapping into that place that knows, that all-knowing place. I know that a lot of people probably listening have a hard time meditating, or have a hard time being stilling their mind, having a hard time with, just with all the chatter, and maybe even discerning between what is the mind and what is the heart. So I'd love to have you experts maybe give some tips around this to help the audience understand, how do they tap into their truth? How do they know? I mean, Sue, you gave a great example earlier of the decision and putting your hand on your heart and knowing, but I think that how do you quiet your mind long enough to tap in if it's not a regular practice for you already? I mean, for the listeners. So who would like to talk about that?
I could go first. I have a lot of clients who, because they are empaths, because there's so much coming at them, they have a really, really hard time. And they feel they're broken because everybody else says they can. And I find those people that sometimes just walking anywhere, it could be, I prefer nature. I prefer a little park somewhere or a stream somewhere. And if you don't have that, just anywhere there's a bit of green. And just, you don't have to walk barefoot. You can walk with your big heavy shoes if you want. But if you walk and just connect with your heart, ask questions of your heart, and then just say, whatever you show me is perfect. There's no judgment. Whatever you show me, whatever you put in front of me, I will accept, because coming from heart, it's coming from source, it's coming from the creator. And that can only be in your best interest. And sometimes the question is, who am I? Sometimes the question is, where am I? Why am I? The questions, if you're asking questions about why somebody is doing something to you, those aren't the questions that are going to connect you to the place. Why am I being victimized? Why am I the only one that? Those questions will not connect you to your inner. What you're looking for is harmony between various aspects of your life. And if you ask for one word, show me, give me one word of truth, and then let me work with that one word, that's enough. It doesn't have to be a great big epiphany. It can just be one word that leads you down a path. For me, this weekend, I went walking, and I went to a labyrinth in my neighborhood. And I asked for one word. And I've been doing this years and years and years. And the word was disconnection. And I went, disconnection. I'm so connected. Why are you giving me disconnection? And of course, it came back to disconnection. That there are times when we need to disconnect from various aspects of our lives so that we can connect with other aspects. And there's sometimes when disconnection is the only way that we can save ourselves. So I went through disconnection with family, disconnection with friends, disconnection with career, disconnection with this, that. And then it flipped over to connection. And it showed me how disconnecting on some aspect is going to bring harmony back into my whole life. That became a meditation. So I think that it's going to ask for one way to connect in a meditative way, to bring it back to soul and to source. Just go into your heart quietly, somewhere where there isn't any distraction, and ask for one word. See what comes up.
That's great. Yeah. I used to do that. I used to walk on our property, and I would just meet a tree, and I would ask the tree, give me some wisdom. And something would come, something would pop up, an insight. It's like, wow, I love that. And one word makes it so simple for you to just accept that one word. So thank you, Sue. That's brilliant. I love that. Who, Jennifer or Hope, do you have anything? Hope is saying yes. Let's hear from you.
Yeah. A lot of the clients that I work with are new to meditation, are new to this idea that I can control this vessel. That's really a new concept for most of them. So I end up coming to work with them because they're finally ready to feel clean and light and healthy, and also want some more natural tools in their medicine cabinet rather than something synthetic. And so I help them walk down the path of just selecting which ones they need and beginning to use them. And so when it comes to meditation or understanding the racing mind or the thoughts in the brain, I was blown away when I learned what was happening in my brain that was creating that race. And then for me, it would turn into an eruption or a never-ending like spinning cycle. So, and realizing that it's these little peptides, these little information carrying molecules are moving from cell receptor to cell receptor, and they're racing down raceways like highways in our brain, and they will go over and over and over and over again. And it was fascinating to me to learn that when we inhale pure aromatic compounds like essential oils, or if you can find something, if you don't have essential oils in your home, find something that has a really strong, clean aroma, like a fresh sprig of rosemary from the bush outside. Don't be sniffing Glade plugins. But if you have some essential oils in the house, take some deep aromatic doses from your hand and up into the limbic brain and let it move in through the limbic brain to the back of the brain. And what happens is the essential oils clean off the cell receptor sites. They're like helicopter landing pads when a helicopter of information lands on that pad and then goes to the next one. And suddenly the landing pad is cleared off and the helicopters are gone. And for that brilliant 30 to 60 seconds right there is a pure crystalline quietness in the brain when you're inhaling these aromas, this deep, profound aroma. And it is a prime second and moment to be still, to be sitting still, either in a chair or laying down or sitting on your couch, and to listen to the sound of your breath going in and listen to the sound of your breath going out, and be still, like an ocean waves. Let them roll in and let it roll out, and let it roll in and let it roll out. And in that still space, that's usually where it's so much easier for us, now that the repeat traffic is gone, to lean into the direction of where we want to go. You know, if that repeat traffic has been saying, I can't do it, I'm overwhelmed, the taxes are due, the business is whatever, that's all gone now. Now we have this unique moment there to lean into asking that question, like Sue was saying, or lean into something we're wanting. I want to appreciate my life. I want to feel safe. And so taking that concept, safety or appreciation, and simply rolling through it like the waves. As we inhale, there's another ocean wave. Exhale, there's another ocean wave. And do that for 5 minutes. The 5 minutes will pass like that. And suddenly, someone who might say, I've never meditated, I can't stop the racing thoughts, you've just experienced meditation. And when you come out of that 5 minutes later, there's a stillness. The whole nervous system is calmed down. The blood pressure has balanced. The autonomic nervous system has regulated. Pupils have relaxed. Digestion has relaxed. Respiratory has relaxed. There's a whole new connection again with inner self. That is one of my most favorite things to do on a regular basis. I tell my girls, we have images up on the fridge with which oils to use for which emotion and such. And I say, we don't take Coke breaks around here. We certainly don't take smoke breaks. We take oil breaks around here. Get up, go outside, breathe the fresh air, walk around the tree, go over to our wellness station, grab rosemary or peppermint oil or lavender oil or whichever your preference is. Give yourself a chance to clean off the cell receptor sites and lean your thoughts into where your soul wants to guide you or wants to lead you in the next hour or 2 hours of your day. It's something we can really do very often. It's a wonderful practice.
That's great. That's a great practice. Thank you, Hope. I remember the first time I ever actually experienced bliss, because there was no thoughts for a profound amount of time.
Yeah.
Enough time for me to just go, wow, that's what people are talking about. I want more.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do this, you know?
Yeah.
So it does, but it takes slowing down. So thank you for that tip.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be helpful for people listening. Jennifer, did you have a tip for people?
Yeah, sure. At those beginning stages, the first thing that came to mind, Lisa, when you posed the question is stop believing that you can't connect or meditate or relax or slow down. Like, transmute that idea, first of all, and trust that you can and do. And also to manage expectations of what that looks like. You know, and again, letting go of attachments to a particular outcome or having those ego comparisons, like someone's, you know, you're in this meditation group, for example, and someone's having like this technicolor, very vibrant experience, right? And they're sharing everything that they're seeing and hearing. And, you know, you're in the same meditation. It's like, I got nothing. But recognizing that you do get something and how you receive that information may be very different, but it doesn't make one any better than the other. So it's actually very subtle. You know, it's not something that's profound or dramatic, having that connection, having that intuition and that guidance. So just starting to notice and recognize how that kind of information comes to you. And maybe you want to write it down or notice those quiet moments when you receive inspiration and an idea, because yes, that's your inner guidance. If you're imagining something or you feel inspired about something, you're connected and you're receiving that information. So sometimes that might come through dream time. My mind is rarely still. And I'm rarely still. Like when we talk, I know I've mentioned this in other panels before, meditation sitting still doesn't work for me very well unless it's guided and I'm with the right kind of group. For me, it's dancing and movement and doing different ways of going within or slowing down or unwinding, right? Sometimes I'm literally spinning in circles until I slow down. I like a dog sometimes too. I'll go around in circles in a spot before I actually settle. Dogs do that all the time. I swear I'm a dog because I do the same thing. So letting go of expectations of how it's supposed to look or what kind of conditions you need or what kind of outcome that you're expecting, letting go of that and letting go of the belief that you can and start noticing how you do and then strengthening that.
Love that. Thank you. So it's so true. Everybody experiences things in a different way and it's all perfect, however you do. And it might change. We're all evolving. It will change as you move through your life. The experiences are going to change and it's all just, happening for you, for your highest good. Just know that. And, yeah, I think this is a great discussion. Thank you all so much for being here and for sharing your wisdom. It's been beautiful. And I really think that you gave some good tips for people to take home and actually, put into action. And listeners, I encourage you to do that, to take some of this beautiful advice and suggestions and take it and put it into practice. Just try different things and see where it takes you. Journal. We've mentioned several different ways for you to kind of track it and just if you can get to the relaxed state, that's the first step. That is the first step towards soul care, is just stilling yourself, quieting your mind long enough. So thank you all again so very much. You can find more of our featured events on our website, and that link will be underneath or somewhere around. And check out all the featured events. There's a lot going on, and consider joining us for even more fun, lots of classes and lots going on. Sophia, did you want to say anything?
Oh, just thank you, Lisa, and I just wanted to thank you and thank everyone for coming on, and of course thank Angel, has been putting everyone's links in all the comments. And tomorrow, our wonderful Sue is facilitating what kinds of spiritual protection does the modern woman need to be successful. So that's just a little bit earlier, but in just under 24 hours time. What kinds of spiritual protection does a modern woman need to be successful? Very, very much looking forward to that with Sue. Thank you. I just want to thank everyone. It was a wonderful discussion. I was listening to a lot of it, and we've had a few people watching, quite a few people, and I'm sure we'll all be in touch. And thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I don't know.